Hello, David Zunker here. I've been writing these little articles for my friend Tamara has asked me to do a little blurb about the astrology of this autumn and fall. So I'm done that. And therefore her little The Mystics magazine and directory that they distribute through their store called Earth and Sky. And if you're in Victoria, it's a fabulous little witchy shop, and where there's classes and readings, etc. So I've done classes. I might do some classes again in the fall there. But anyway, that's in ceremony magic. This is astrology. So I wrote an astrology article, and let's get into it. And I start off talking about the summer because there's been so much to do about this bowl or basket formation of the summer. Well, it was kind of at the summer solstice. It was more exact in later June 20th, 22nd. And so we have 4 of the 5 outer planets all lined up really exact at around 5 degrees, because we round up in astrology. So people have said it's 4, but it's 4 something. So it's 5 degrees in astrology. And of course, I'm talking about tropical astrology, where Aries is the start of spring, not the constellations, because that's life on Earth now. And so we have to. What's so unique about these 4 planets is that they are so exact into sextiles. So we have, going back at the start of summer, and they're still there now because this Pluto moves so slow. So Pluto in early Aquarius, we have moving around the zodiac by 60 degrees from Aquarius, we have Neptune in Aries. And then from Aries, another 30 degrees, we have Uranus in Gemini. And at this time of the start of summer, we have Jupiter in Leo. So the 3 what were called modern planets, Bing, Bang, Boom, Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune in Aries, Uranus in Gemini, all quite like sextile, so 60 degrees apart, and then the big 90-degree trine between Uranus and Pluto, and then Jupiter in Leo to oppose Pluto, and also sextile Uranus from Gemini to Leo. So what's so unusual is it's these outer planets, and they're all lined up in sextiles. I mean, you have to look back thousands of years for this sort of thing, and probably before we had even discovered Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So this is like a first-time thing. And this formation keeps getting emphasized as we go through into the fall. And and now we've already this is being recorded in early August, but the eclipses of August are, because they're so tied up in this bowl formation, are really kind of astonishing and real heavy duty. So what really I'm looking at the fall as sort of a time of integration of these impactful changes in consciousness, in spirit, in the world. And so from these eclipses, I wrote, life will never be the same. We all need to be either actively conjuring and crafting our new path or have it laid upon us. And my little saying applies this fall for sure. Fate is what happens to us when we do not pursue our own personal destiny. So keep that in mind this year. It's not, oh, I wish things would be the same. Oh, I wish things were like they used to be. No, no, no. It's about where am I going with new opportunities, new directions, new paths in a changing world. And that's how to find stability. Because, of course, change is the only constant. And that's what we're noticing this year. As it has been talked about back in the days around July, June 22nd, the summer equinox, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all lined up in sextile, 60 degrees, all in 5 degrees of their signs. We round up in astrology, please. So by the lunar eclipse in August, August 12th, that's the solar. It's the solar eclipse in August. And by the eclipse, Jupiter has moved on from that 5 degrees area. But Mercury has moved in to take its place in early Leo. So as with the eclipse, we still have this powerful bull position. But we also have Venus has moved into early Libra by the eclipse. And to make the sextile link, add a whole nother planet in an air sign in Libra to this, another sextile, one from Libra to Leo. And Mercury's moved into Leo. So by the eclipse, we have this grand trine in air with Venus in Libra, Uranus in Gemini, and Pluto and Aquarius, the air signs, the 3 air signs with these planets all around the same positions in their respective sign creates this grand trine, which is generally a very positive thing. And it certainly makes this a positive eclipse if you're ready for change. Because not only do we have a grand trine in air, which says big opportunities around communication, around networking, around science, around kind of thought, kind of cultural developments, and lots going on, very positive, is that we also, with this grand trine, when you have a grand trine and you have a planet opposite one of those corners of the big triangle, it creates a kite. And a kite is not only the positiveness of a grand trine, this grand trine in air, but a kite makes that a real kind of ideas that take off. Hence the kite, it looks like a kite too when you connect the dots on a chart. So we have, at this time, we have a kite forming with Venus in Libra to Neptune in Aries. That opposite makes a kite out of the grand trine with Venus. And with Mercury, Venus in Libra, Mercury in Leo is opposite Pluto in Aquarius, so that makes another kite with Pluto and Mercury making this kite. So 2 kites with a grand trine on the eclipse. Yikes. So it's very unique and very powerful and creates change in our lives, not only in the big world, but in our individual lives. Consider that we are, as I mentioned, in a season of integration. It's part of an immense eclipse season. It is the dispensation of powerful energies as the sun and moon and inner planets hit off the sensitive positions of the eclipses. Let us begin with Mabon, the autumn equinox, September 22nd. We have left the bowl of August as Jupiter has moved on to deeper into Leo, yet by Mabon, and more exactly by the end of September, Mars has entered into early Leo to replace Jupiter in this ongoing formation because the other slower moving planets are still near those positions. The sun, as it enters Libra, at the same time, lines up after a few days after the fall equinox, also to be involved. And it's all intense and significant. And the advice here is to really, in your goals, you got to find me time, setting a priority, feel better, period, and feel better about your life. That's the goals. Got to be part of the goals. August 31st holds the first of 3 Jupiter in Leo trine Saturn in Aries aspects. These read as an indicator of stability during this Jupiter-Saturn cycle that began December 21st. So here we have a trine between Jupiter and Saturn at the end of August. Jupiter and Saturn, as they conjunct way back in December 2020, really, they have a lot to do with Jupiter-Saturn trine has a lot to do, a cycle that started December 20th. When they're trine, it's about major adjustments in governments, economies, cultures, kind of a settling of counts, a settling of direction, a stability, but it's an action because it's all fire here. The Saturn in Aries, Jupiter in Leo, fire in the Chinese fiery horse year. So it's about change. We're encouraged to accomplish grounded steps on new and ongoing projects. So the Saturn, let's late August, beginning of September. Still, we're not even into Mabon here, but it's so important to mention the Jupiter-Saturn trine. They happen again in April and July of 2027, this Jupiter-Saturn trine. So but this is what we're kind of working on once we get into the fall, is recreating our kind of budgets and our social interactions, our what we're participating in our community. These things are all continuing to change this fall. Starting in late August, early September. Over the next year, we can use what we learned through the pandemic and ensuing years to establish a new personal culture, a new personal economy, activating tools for ongoing transformation. The day after the Jupiter, September 1st, we have Mars in Cancer, square Saturn in Aries, which reads at a stabilizing, which starts with applying the brakes. So early September, new plans, new directions, but go slow. Slow down and reassess. The new moon on Virgo on September 10th is a significant indicator of change. Virgo is the sign of productivity and can launch, a new moon in Virgo launches practical initiatives, things we want to accomplish. All while Venus enters Scorpio, Mercury enters Libra, Uranus goes retrograde. All this around September. The weekend of September 11th, Mercury in Libra makes a grand trine with the kite, with Mercury lining up with Uranus. So it's kind of actually similar to the eclipse. So it's Mercury involved here. It's about plotting. We're planning to create change, planning our revolt, planning actions that create change. Friday, the September 11th, with Grand Trine. Yes. We are reminded of our personal inspirations and to provide connections and opportunities. It's about networking. A few days around September 15th, we can see in advance in the big picture, but the Venus in Scorpio square to Pluto in Aquarius reads as not a time for financial or emotional risks. So take your notes, mark your calendar. Good for planning around September 15th, but not the time for risk. Again, for the weekend of the 18th, don't be deterred by Mercury in Libra opposed Saturn in Aries. Breathe deep, find some patience. By the next weekend of September 25th, we have the Sun in Libra lining up where Mercury was on September 11th to show a week of bold action. So the planning and connections around the 11th are coming through into bold actions on the 25th of September. Flag the 28th as a foreshadowing of September 28th, foreshadowing of the pressures of the weekend of coming of October 2nd. September 30th, Mercury enters Scorpio, which brings to early October a mental determination and toughness. We are inspired by Mars in Leo trine Neptune in Aries to be direct and truthful while we act upon our inspiration. We need this as there is our challenges with Mars opposed Pluto and square Mercury in fixed signs to show a struggle to get things accomplished. However, by the 6th, we're cruising along, we're managing. The Libra new moon is a good one for setting an initiative in a formal way, a desire that you will act upon. You make a list, do a ritual, light candles, give yourself a little impetus to set a new initiative that you're going to follow through on. That's early October. The big thing in mid-October is Pluto resuming direct motion on October 15th. In time for just before the Sun enters Scorpio. So the Scorpio season energies and information come up and out, which is what Scorpio is all about. It's shadow work. Things, feelings, memories, habits, sources of habits that we have buried and didn't want to recognize. Now they're getting recognized. It's about a personal transformation. Information is coming up and out from within each of us about our own lives and our spiritual development and our personality developments. But also in the big world. This Scorpio season is exemplifying this idea of information, truth be known. What was hidden becomes the light of day. So personally, be ready for that. Culturally and politically and economically, expect change. Scorpio to Taurus full moon is October 26th, and it is in a T-square with the newly direct Pluto. And this reads as Action Jackson. This reads as things happening, a strain, a buildup of contrary energies that will release over the next weeks. Personally, individually, is a time for fortifying our personal spiritual connections within and outside with others in a community. In the outer universe, the ante is raised as well. Weather, earth changes, political changes, solar impacts, etc. are all in the news for the fall of 2026, continuing to be in the news. The Mercury in Cancer square Mars in Leo on Friday the 30th asks us to keep a lid on our personal energy. We're asked to feel deeply, not overanalyze. Let it go, let it go. The beginning of November is marked by the inferior conjunction of the retrograde Mercury and the Sun in Scorpio on the 4th. It's a rethink in our lives, and it's interesting that rethink is on the US midterm elections. For each of us, this is really about shadow work, delving deep into our own more personal, emotional worlds to bring up and out into our awareness what was hidden and not healthy. It is the initiative of the November 9th new moon to dig deep. November has a Friday the 13th this year, which was unlucky for the Knights Templar, but this is this time for us, it's a day of change with Mercury and Venus both going direct. The Mars conjunct Jupiter in Leo provides an opportunity. We're advised to proceed with big plans, but slowly and surely, with effort, not cash, not guesswork. It's because around the 18th, the Sun in Scorpio squares what was the encouraging Mars-Jupiter conjunction. So go slow. We're not taking chances with emotions or cash. On November 22nd, we move into Sagittarius. The full moon of the 24th is really impacting this basket formation of earlier this year. It's emphasized. The Sun and Moon are bringing in the universal changes shown by Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto to be more imminent in our daily lives. Mars moves into Virgo to encourage productivity on November 25th. Mark your calendars for the 29th of November, when Uranus and Gemini trines Pluto in Aquarius. This is a huge one. It's a generational aspect that hasn't happened since the 20s. So kind of before Pluto was even discovered. So is this the first time? So 100 years ago, we had Uranus trine Pluto in the 20s. The roaring 20s were about shattering, is the word I use, breaking up of kind of traditions, cultural, religious conventions out the window. So it's also Uranus trine Pluto is about science and new developments and transformation socially, culturally, scientifically. Also during these couple of days, the Sun is trine Saturn just to show that we mean it, that things are changing and we insist upon it. And Mars hits off a yod with Neptune and Pluto that's worth mentioning for some sort of show of some God's power. Because a big yod is called, another word for the yod formation is called the finger of fate or finger of God. So when they're hit off, it means things happen. There's more excitement in early December, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Mercury, newly in Sagittarius, hits off the outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, while Venus makes a yod with the Uranus-Neptune sextile. This reveals more from the changes that began last summer. Saturn is direct December 10th, and Neptune is direct, and Jupiter retrograde December 12th. So lots of changes. Much is becoming revealed, and the gloves are off, quote unquote, in our lives and in the public fields of media and attention. What's going on? Lots going on. We may find some comfort and healing around the 18th as we get into Yule. The Sun, Jupiter, and Chiron make a grand fire trine. And then generally I'm not into using asteroids much. But we got to mention Chiron here because it's part of a grand fire trine to close out the season on a hopeful note. Because the 18th grand fire trine of Sun, Jupiter, Chiron is really about healing. It's about an opportunity for healing, both in kind of personal life, around family, around community, and even around nations, kind of healing. So big and small picture, the microcosm and the macrocosm. Thank you. That is the blurb for the season